Hello, everyone. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Boss Podcast. Today, I am extremely excited because I have Laura joining us again for another episode. Hey, Laura, how's it going?
Good.
So, we're going to talk about a really juicy topic. I'll let Laura do the intro for it, but I do think that everyone needs to take special notes during this episode because there is some hot tips that are going to be dropped that can prevent you from losing a lot of money.
Okay, so today I think a great little chat would be on how to protect your business assets. So lately I've been hearing a lot of stories about how people are encountering scams, phishing, malware, theft. And so I think it would just be great to kind of break it down. People like me, solopreneurs, I kind of work in a little silo and I don't always hear what's going on in everyone else's business. So it's just kind of nice to be aware of these things and to hear what's going on so that your sort of radar is up when it comes to these problems.
100%. So even for us in healthcare, all the way to the product-based business, we have to be aware of these scams because they are cyber criminals that are out there that are looking. So let's figure out what the signs are and safeguard ourselves so we're not a victim to these cyber criminals.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so true to note. Like these criminals are so much more sophisticated than they used to be. So, first, let's talk about physical theft. Now, this is not new. This has been a thing that businesses have encountered forever. It's a common issue in business establishments. I guess it's just a good reminder is to protect your assets, protect your physical items, don't leave checks out, if you have a stack of checks going to somewhere, consider the safety and how they're getting there. So, popping them in a mailbox at the end of a busy downtown core might not be the best option. You may want to hand deliver that or ask for an alternative address that's a little safer. And yeah, don't leave your checks laying around. So, anybody can steal blank checks. They can easily be cashed through the ATM. So, if you don't have a safe, grab a safe, put them in there, hide them, don't leave them out. Next is kind of one that we deal with. This is kind of like the nuisance theft, and that's malware. And I've heard of a ton of organizations from like school boards, even down to like small businesses like me, experiencing just these nuisance malware scams. And so, what has happened to me over the past few months is my website keeps getting hacked. And it's interesting because there's nothing they're really gaining from hacking it other than it just being a super large nuisance for me. And what comes out of those types of things is you're then paying somebody to clean your website up. You might be down for some period of time. You may have to start back from the beginning.
Yeah. So with malware, is there anything people can do to prevent that from happening?
Yeah. So something I've learned is to keep your website up to date. Make sure anything that you're not using, like plugins or themes or those kind of things, make sure you get rid of those because that's where it's coming in from is generally those type of items. The other thing is across the board is passwords.
Mhm.
We need to be changing our passwords a heck of a lot more than we are.
Yeah.
So, something that I have started to do, and I'm obsessed with Google Calendar or any sort of calendar or reminder system that you're using, is to put in your calendar a space to remind you to change the password. So, every month, every 2 months, it's just so simple. And whether you're writing down your passwords by hand on a piece of paper at home or whatever it is, I just think it's really worth, I know we say it a lot, but it is really worth the exercise to just go and change your passwords. I know it's annoying and I know it's hard to sometimes remember them. But if it saves you having your website shut down for 2 weeks or having to pay a developer multiple times to get the virus out or
Mm.
whatever it is, honestly, it's so worth it just to prevent it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that tip.
Yep. Get it done, schedule it in. Believe me, what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth it to do it now than to end up going through it later because it is a huge pain. A lot of these malware things also come from clicking on things that you shouldn't. So don't ever click on links. I know, like, even on Facebook or Instagram now, there's lots of impersonators out there. And then you get somebody messaging you another link and you're like, oh, hey, my friend Karen just messaged me this link. Double check that it's really her, that it's not coming from an impersonation account. That's how they're getting in. So just be really vigilant when you're clicking on things. Never disclose any personal information. We all kind of know that that's common sense, but still, it's how these things are coming about. So just be careful with that.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
I've noticed from a few different clients now, and this is really where the real damage is being done, is through impersonation and phishing scams. So people are losing real money here, big dollars. This is something that is sophisticated at times and hard to almost notice. But that's why I think it's worth talking about today, just so that you kind of have your spidey senses up when it comes to something that seems off. They're not always preventable because you don't always know, right? But I just think keeping your eyes open for these sort of situations. So through these impersonation scams, what happens is the impersonator, the intruder, the fraudster is basically finding a way into your email. So I definitely, if you're able to, I'd be monitoring that just to kind of make sure that you're the only login. Another great way to prevent this is double authentication,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So if you don't know about double authentication, I use an authenticator app. I pick the app just in case I'm not in the country and I'm not getting text messages. That's my preference.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's just giving you two ways to log in. So, like when you log into a program, like for instance, I know QuickBooks uses this. I log in, it says we're going to send the code to your special email or text or whatever. You get the verification code and you enter. It's a pain in the butt. It's a little extra time out of your day. But for certain areas of your business, it is super, super a great way to prevent sort of some of these intruders into our digital world. Another great way to sort of keep your eyes open for these types of scams and sort of preventing them is making sure you're into your accounting books daily. Keeping a handle on your finances and maintaining that organization is going to give you that heads up if something is not right, and it's going to do it quickly, and therefore you can then work to rectify it.
And do you recommend going into your account, what, every few days or every week? What cadence is the safest, would you think?
Yeah, ideally every couple days, but definitely every week.
Hmm.
And along the lines on that email impersonation, like they're also doing it in reverse too. So I've heard, so not only are they contacting customers to say send money elsewhere, but they're also impersonating being your supplier as well. And a great way in your sort of processes, which I think is you need to have a financial process of how you're sending money. And so something to double check is if there is ever a change made to where you're supposed to pay it, how you're supposed to pay it, I would be double checking that if you're a solopreneur, if you're a smaller business, if you have a lot of transactions coming in by e-transfer, I'd maybe consider how you do your business just to safeguard you. Maybe it's more so like creating like a Shopify portal or some sort of portal where the client physically goes to your site to make the payment versus this kind of e-transfer that goes out into and then gets to you eventually. I mean, sometimes it makes sense. So just be super vigilant, stay on top of it. If you have to ask a question, ask. Like there's ways to frame it, like you said, to make it not sound threatening or pushy. It's just like, hey, just want to follow up because I don't want to miss something.
Hmm.
Did you send this? Did you
Yeah.
get to it? I know we're busy,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So,
And I like how you suggested doing it in a timely manner because if it is a fraudulent ask and the person expecting funds doesn't reach out fast enough, then there's nothing that can be done to retract the payment.
I was reading another paper and a lot of these fraudsters come across with sort of a urgent and pushy and aggressive manner. That's another thing just to watch out for if something seems off that way. Start to question it, start to think about it, how, why, what is going on here when you're thinking about communication with you as a business and sort of what's coming your way. Just another thing to keep your spidey senses going on if someone starts to become a little aggressive.
I love that tip because it is very much a red flag.
I think just knowing what's going on and how it's changing in the landscape of sort of this topic is a good refresher to remember to keep our assets protected.
Yes, yes. And set up those internal controls and checks and balances. If you have a spidey sense within, trust your gut instinct, your intuition, and don't get pushed around. Remember, they are criminals, so they'll do whatever it takes to get that money that's not there. Laura. Well, it was fantastic having you on again. Where can we find you if we need some?
Yeah. We just launched financiallyorganized.ca. You can find me on Instagram at financiallyorganized.ca as well as my website there. And yeah, we're also on Facebook too. So I'm rolling out a few tips and tricks as we go. We're just launching. So I'm really excited to start helping businesses become organized in all their financial things.
Yay! Okay, great, guys. And remember, make a plan and take action. And yes, you can have it all. And we'll talk to you guys again next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.